Hello everyone. The top international news. The Security Council of the Russian Federation tells its truths to American President Donald Trump and the European Union in a comprehensive manner. President Donald Trump, who recently made a statement threatening to abandon all negotiation activities between Russia and Ukraine. These remarks have received a more or less favorable response from the Russian side. Russia has reacted. We saw Russia react by granting, for the very first time, a 30-hour truce just for the sake of the Easter holiday. But beyond that, it is one of the senior officials of the Security Council of the Russian Federation, Dmitry Medvedev, former president, former Russian leader, who speaks on behalf of the Russian Federation and tells these truths to both Donald Trump and the European Union. So, what needs to be said is that next week there is one of the last meetings concerning the negotiations between Ukraine and Russia that is supposed to take place in London. According to an American official, it will be the last meeting and the final proposal. And so it is in the prelude to this meeting, it is in the prelude to this proposal that American officials have said that if they see that obviously one of the parties is making it difficult for them, America will wash its hands of this negotiation matter. So let's first talk about this famous meeting that is supposed to take place in London, still within the framework of negotiations for the advent of peace in Ukraine. And then we will look at the position, the four truths of the Russian Security Council regarding Donald Trump and the European Union. So, let's dive deep. Dear ladies and gentlemen, what's happening? So, we learned that the United States and other allies of Kiev intend to approve a ceasefire plan. This ceasefire plan is going to be approved, and it will be a total ceasefire. Total, it will not be partial this time. It is supposed to be approved at a meeting to be held next week in London. The information is provided by the New York Post, and the New York Post provided the information based on statements made by an American official. So, there will be a meeting to approve a total ceasefire plan. As we were saying, it is in preparation for this that America is considering whether it will continue or if it will wash its hands of it. So, according to what is said by this American official whose name has been kept anonymous, he says this. He says, we want to make a decision on a total and comprehensive ceasefire next week in London. Then we intend to negotiate with the Russians and tell them here, this is the best and final proposal to determine what both parties have agreed upon. So, they will go to London, they will hold their meeting, and afterwards, they will inform the Russian side. According to the New York Times interlocutor, it should be noted that this is an interview he gave to the New York Times, but he preferred to remain anonymous. He says that to encourage Russia to participate in the negotiations regarding this proposal, Washington could offer Moscow a relaxation of anti-Russian sanctions. So, to enable Russia to agree, they will propose to Russia that they will ease the sanctions concerning Russia, the anti-Russian sanctions. And these are sanctions that affect trade, Russian trade, the importation of Russian products, notably gas, etc. And this is one of the conditions that Vladimir Putin had set. Vladimir Putin had said, listen, if you want me to agree to a ceasefire, you also need to lift certain restrictions, certain sanctions on Russia. this will allow us to also develop our trade, even if just for a short time. This means that the American side is beginning to take into account the demands of the Russian Federation. So, what is being said? And here, isn't it what is being anticipated? So then, this gentleman, who is the first deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council, Dmitry Medvedev, has therefore spoken regarding the fact that America says that it risks washing its hands of this endless negotiation affair. So, what does Dmitry Medvedev say? He describes Donald Trump's decision as wise. He says that this decision is very wise. When one thinks that Russia would be irritated by Donald Trump's remarks, but the opposite happens. Russia does not get upset. Russia describes it as wise, and it's the Russian Security Council speaking, which calls this decision wise. The decision of America wanting to withdraw from the negotiations on the war between Russia and Ukraine. Yes, Russia says it's a wise decision. Dmitry Medvedev says this. I remind you that he is the first deputy chairman of the Russian Security Council. He says Russia will solve the problem more quickly. Yes. So, if America withdraws, Russia will quickly solve the problem. I don't know if you understand this gentleman's statement, but it's frightening. So, he says American officials have stated that there is no progress in the Ukraine matter, in the Ukrainian issue. He says the United States will wisely wash their hands of it. So, if they wash their hands of it, it will be a wise decision. This means that Donald Trump, who thought he could control Zelensky, cannot control Zelensky, and what they said about Zelensky is the truth. So if America washes its hands of it, it's a wise decision, and Russia will resolve the problem as quickly as possible. Then, he continues, he says, and the European Union should do the same. If America washes its hands of it, the European Union should also wash its hands of it. So it will remain between Russia and Ukraine, and Russia will resolve the problem as quickly as possible. He continues by saying, Russia will then get through it more quickly. That's what it means. Here is Russia's reaction. It's a reaction that is not favorable to America, nor to Ukraine, nor to the European Union. It proves that they all have failed and that what Russia has always said about Ukraine, that's the truth. So, ladies and gentlemen, that was the headline of international news. Thank you once again for sharing it as widely as possible in all possible groups. I will be back with more news shortly, by the grace of Almighty God. This was the voice of Robert Théa.